Dear beloved Muslims and guests, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Please turn off all cell phones until after Jumah, please. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. هو الذي خلق الإنسان من طين وأخرجه من الظلمات إلى النور فنحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره نؤمن به ونتوكل عليه نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد قال الله في القرآن الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, we give all praise and all thanks to Almighty God Allah, the God of the Bible, the cherisher and sustainer of all worlds, all systems of knowledge. We want to continue last week's talk, so this will be part 2, inshallah. We are addressing Mu'awwidhatayn. Mu'awwidhatayn. Tain, you know, we make what's called Shahadatain. So that's two declarations. Mu'awwidhatayn is the surahs, two surahs of refuge. Very important surahs, and they are revealed actually in both Mecca and Medina. And they account for external and internal. And it's about refuge. And we were mentioning that these are prayers. You know, the whole Quran we know is a book of prayer. Again, we love to say it's so precious. The Quran is so precious that it's our prayer. The whole book is our prayer. So in these surahs, they start with A'udhu, you know, calling on Allah, asking Allah for help, for protection, you know, this refuge. And again, we say this is universal, and everything in these is universal. These prayers, this is a book of guidance for all mankind. We're asking on Allah for help, and He's the help. He's the help. There's no help without Allah, you know. And we were mentioning, again, if you weren't here last week, you can still get the tape, but we're just going to mention briefly, then I want to get to the second surah, inshallah, that the world is facing right now the largest crisis of refugees ever recorded in the history. And that says a whole lot right now. You know, 65 million people are fleeing. They're looking for refuge, you know, because of different conditions in the world. And we mentioned many of those conditions because of things affecting them, because of their ethnicity, because of their nationality, because of their race, their religion, their political positioning, opinions, membership in some party, social group. These are all these different things, you know. So this tells us that we need to look at what the Quran is saying when it comes to refuge. So we see these external things, but also there's people are being mentally displaced too from their humanity, you know. So this is another crisis that's happening. They're giving themselves to things that have taken them from the process of being humans. And we're seeing a lot of people now doing things now that we are shocked at what we hear. We're shocked at what we're seeing that's coming from people that look in human form around the world. So this is a very important time for us, and we certainly need Allah's help. And Allah, again, He is the one that can help us. So again, we started with the first surah. We won't get into the whole thing in terms of al-falaq, and we know it's Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq min sharri ma khalaq wa min sharri ghasikin idha waqab wa min sharrin nafathatihi fil uqad wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. And we know Allah tells us what to say, and Qul really in this actual language, this action is not just to say with your mouth, but you don't do it with your disposition, your actions. You're not trying to actually represent what you're saying, you know. And so really what you're saying, you should really have that disposition, that you really seek Allah's help. I seek Allah for protection. I seek for help, the Rabb of the dawn, from the harm or evil of the creation, what's in creation, and from the harm of the Gothic, the darkness, the really intense darkness, when it becomes intense, when it spreads, and from the harm of the whisperers when they whisper into fil uqad, and from the harm of hasad, the envious one, jealousy, when they are jealous. So we covered much of that, and again we were speaking about shar, to try to get a better understanding of shar, this harm. We know a lot of translations again say evil, but we like to say harm because we know that evil really implies intent, but there is no intent to hurt in matter. What Allah created, there's no intent in that to hurt. You know, what Allah said that the matter is really here to serve us. All the matter, everything Allah created is here to serve. There's nothing that He put here to hurt us. So He said that if we don't approach it right, then we can get to shar. This is something that is dormant in everything He's created. And again, we can bring this out, but everything is here for our comfort, for our aid, to help us. So this is this shar. I wanted to just mention that Muhammad the Prophet, peace be upon him, is trying to get the believers to see this, and also trying to get them to see something that they may have been giving themselves to. And he began to give them some advice about sex, and he said that there's a reward in it. There's a reward in it. And again, you have to go back to that time, the time of ignorance, you know. So he said to them, this is something you need to look at and try to overcome that's in yourselves, you know, how you approach this. And of course, you know, companions, they want to know what he's speaking to. And when we look at Muhammad the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was always trying to awaken the thinking, always trying to awaken their minds to problems that they had. And so by him making a statement like that, he's trying to bring something to their attention. And there was a problem that many of them had in that they were people who reacted to things rather than to respond to things. This is one of the things we find when we look at their history. And we know when we say respond means that your senses are working. This is when you respond. But react to something doesn't necessarily mean that your good senses are working. So these are two things that are operating. And so, you know, some people, they just react. And we've seen a lot of that today. People that are just reacting to things, you know. And it results over the year from people, you know, having problems that he's trying to bring out with them in their society. There was a sex problem, we know, and the kind of lewdness that they had, illegitimate births, loss of wife, all kind of things that were happening. And we know that man, over time and with his culture, he makes things that Allah has given us as good, he makes them become dirty. So he made this point to them, and they wanted to know, you know, how did you get a reward? So he said, if you did it unlawful, he said, wouldn't you be punished? You know. So he said, likewise, he says there's shar and khayr in everything. You know, Allah has he says qadara. You know, this is what we see in the Quran. He set the balance for good. He set the balance for evil or harm. You know, in everything, and he lets us know if you respect the balance of what he put, then you get good. You're going to get good. And of course, if you disrespect the balance, then of course, then you get the harm or the measure, because it's a measure. Qadr also means a measure. It's a measure for everything that we do, good or bad. He's already set that, you know. And that's what it really says in this word, that Allah, because He's the Creator, and everything that He created, because He created it, that it said it already has set in it the rules that are governing the shara and the khayr in every single thing in terms of how we approach it. This was given to the creation even before we came out of the creation. You know, this was put into the creation that we came out of, and certainly it's certainly representative in our nature because we came out of the creation that was here before us. These rules. So as we move on, Allah says, "Wa min shari ghasikin idha waqab." And I can't remember how far I got on this, so I'm just going to briefly go through these here. And we know some of the translations, again, they say, as we mentioned, from the harm of the evil, or the evil of intense darkness. Intense darkness. And this word, ghasic, is not only intense darkness, this word is also talking about intense corruption. And this is one of the big things also we find around the world today, you know. It's the darkness that it hints to filth, gossip, you know, corruption, offensive things that are offensive to the good taste for human life, good taste to human beings, good taste for civilized society. This is what this gossip is, you know. And it was so good to hear the speech from the First Lady of the United States of America mentioning to the filth that's been in this society. You know, how that goes, and she's speaking quite eloquently about how it actually goes against good human decency. You know, no one can accept those kind of things. This is just something that we find in front of us. But we're not to detach this from our own self and what we bring into our own life. Because again, these surahs are meant to take care of external and also internal. But we know with darkness also comes corruption. You know, we say that they around the world they have is plagued in a lot of places with corruption conflict and drugs. We abbreviated CDC for conflict, drugs, and corruption. These are some of the biggest things that are happening right now. And we know with ignorance, there also comes corruption. You see, and this is why Allah began the first surah about He would bring us out of that, out of this darkness into the light. But you have corrupt morals. So morals is a piece now. People are actually going against morality, taking moral stands right now, and siding really because of ignorance with corrupt positioning. You know, the culture we find that, and one of the poets referred to having a culture of death, because of the things that are emanating in the society right now. We see that right now where people are losing their life because of corruption that's set in because of ignorance, you know. And so Allah, He goes on into and says, wa min sharrin, we say we assimilate, wa min sharrin nafathati fil uqad. I think we may have covered some of this from the evil of the whisperer, who whispers or blows into the knot. And we know one of the times this was revealed, we mentioned it was revealed in Mecca and in Medina. It was addressing some knots from sorcery, witchcraft, whatever. They were trying to put a spell on the Prophet, peace be upon him. And they did 11 knots. There were 11 knots and 11 pins in the doll that was supposed to be him. And so to address this 11, to address these spells, Allah revealed again these 11 surahs, 11 verses, 5 and 6, you know. And this really breaks the spell on any of these knots. And in terms of what these knots represent, you know, these knots, I normally, when I do weddings, I refer to this word aqd. We got uqad, but this word aqd, and I know the Arabic-speaking ones know that this is a contract. And so there's a terminology in some of the Arab societies. They say aqd el-kiran, and that means marriage, the pair, the couple. So contract, two coming together to make a contract. And but also it translates in our society when you say you hear aqd, this knot, we say tying the knot. That's two coming together, tying the knot. And so tying, so that tells us that it had a meaning, this knot, and it has a very good meaning. And what it's saying is that when you think about tying a knot, making something tight. In our faith, we have aqidah. What is our aqidah? We can say it to ourselves. We understand that. That's our creed. That's our creed. You know, something we have resolved for, something we have committed to. Something that's our resolution to believe in our kalima, etc. You know. So this is what, and then aqidah, we say al-taqidu. Al-taqidu just means that I believe. I have a firm belief in this. And again, this is talking about something that's internal. So it says, into this resolution, into your conviction. And we have many people that really, they resolve really to want to be right. We find them all the time. We talk to them, they say, I try to do right. I really wanted to do right. But then they have these things pulling on them. They call them influences. These are whispers. They're whispering into people, you see. And it's trying to weaken the knot. This tight conviction and make it loose. And all Satan want to do is get it loose enough for him to get inside. He don't need but a little bit of space, you see. And then he just starts wiggling, and all of a sudden everything that you wanted to do and fell apart, and you found yourself getting caught up now because you let your conviction become weak and not strong. So this is what God, He says. So we have to seek His protection from this whisper, you know, that weaks into this conviction, our resolve for Allah and to be obedient to Allah and to do what Allah asks us to do. We have to seek His protection from this Satan, you know, to try to weaken our minds when we commit ourselves to something. And then it goes on to say, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. I think we close it out kind of mentioning some things about the hasad. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created the human being, and we know He gives us the story in the Quran, He tells the angels that, you know, He's going to make the human being, and He's going to trust that human being with His own life, you know. And right after that, we know that Satan, he says, I'm better than he. Ana khayru minhu. This is what Satan says. This is Iblis. He says, I'm better than him. So this is just, so now we see, now you don't have no envy in creation up until this point, but now here, this is what we hear with him saying. This is envy. He's envy. Allah is investing in this human being, and Satan now, he's showing envy. He says, I'm better than he. To kind of tell us the kind of things that begins to cultivate this fire of envy. When you begin to see yourself, I'm better. I should have got it. I'm better. I'm better because of this. I'm better because of my race. I'm better because of my nationality. I'm better because I'm closer to the holy sites. Whatever the case might be. When you begin to say I'm better, then you really begin to ignite the fire of envy. And again, the prophet said, beware. Oh, this envy, because it eats up goodness like fire eats up wood. So this is one of the things that began to destroy and break down humans in society. You see. So, and it tells us that if we don't fight this, some people don't fight it; they give in to this, and they begin to welcome that and see that. But if you don't fight that in your own souls, this is what's happening in your own soul. If you don't fight that, don't you know that you're aiding the Satan? You're aiding the Satan. You see. So Allah has given us the help. You see. So we have to be mindful, because if we're not careful, then we're going to be in his company. You know, and once you're in his company, he don't have to worry about you no more. He goes for the other ones who are fighting. You see, he wants the ones who are fighting. You see, but we have to fight. It's a disease, and we see it prevalent in society. You know, people thinking they should have got something because they feel they're better for whatever reason. You know, and it weakens your soul, and you don't want to be weak. You want to get it out of you. Brother, you want to get it out of you, sister, for what you may have for somebody or somebody else, whatever the case might be, because of what they have. Don't give in to that. You know, seek Allah's help to keep it out of you. This is what Allah has given to us, and we transition from that and we go into Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khanas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas min al-jinnati wan nas. So again, it starts off pretty much the same. Kul a'udhu bi rabb, just like we said before, this was Rabbil Falak, and here's Rabbin Nas. So these last two, this is Mu'atwidatain, the Suras of Refuge, the Suras of Refuge, the Suras of protection, and we need protection. So, Kul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, say, I seek protection, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind. Some say humanity, you know. But we see every one of these verses, you calling on Allah. You calling on Allah Himself, not anybody else, you know. They are directing us to Allah, you know. And Allah is always telling us through the Quran not to be kafirs, to be people of faith, you know, to turn to Him. Don't be of those who of shirk, the mushrikeen, the polytheists. That we are to declare this oneness and have this resolve to see Allah in His oneness, you know. So Allah is saying, seek refuge with Him, Nas. So Nas is used in the second one, and really all people, and it's closer. A better term would be mankind rather than humanity. Some put humanity there. But when we look at the term humanity, again, we talk about human is in that form. It refers to human people who are refined. You know, when you talk about humanity, people living in the core with their best motivations. These are true human beings. We know Muslim is just a high expression for a human being. You know, so this is what they're saying. You know, you're in accord now with your inherent excellence. The ahsani taqween that Allah created you upon, like Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was upon that even before revelation came to him. He showed that in the society. So mankind is more closer because humanity is not necessarily, as the Quran lets us know, it's not necessarily all people, but all people have the gift of humanity. You see, that's what Allah put in your nature, but it doesn't mean that everybody has it. Everybody's displaying that. Everybody's come into that. As we see many they have gotten away from that because it hadn't even been awakened in them, or they haven't accepted it, and we find that coming from both. So these verses really are for all people, you know, and they address life. These verses are addressing problems in life, concerns, and the need of all human life in these last two surahs. So it's not just individual, although we're speaking to us as an individual, but also in society. Societies have these troubles, you know. And this last verse, both of them again, this is really telling us how, in a state of nature, how primitive societies are formed. Just the order that Allah put it in. And again, we don't have a lot of time to go through it. But even in starting with Nas, with the people, and then going into Malikin Nas, Ilahi Nas. So this is order in terms of how you look at how humanity starts. And you have to look at a state of nature. We come here, when Allah says the Rab of the people, we look at what it means to be Rab, the one who gives birth, the one who develops a life, brings his life into the world and stays with it and cultivates it until it reaches its completion and provides everything that it needs for its existence. So, but in a state of nature, we're not conscious of that. We see in our life our parents doing that, the parents doing that. And so this term, Rab, is connected with parents because that's just a stage of our growth to get to the Rab. And we see the parents as that, you know. But the way life goes and it gets to state of nature, we grow up and we leave the home. Parents pass on, and then the child that comes out of that home, he now has his own home. The man has his home. He's the father. And then, but he's not just the father of his own family. This term father, in how it elevates in society, it becomes, now there's another father over society. But back in those days, king was the biggest term, you know. King is the one who also was over the big house, so to speak, the society. And so this is this rise. So God is looking at this rise in the state of nature to address, and he's trying to get us to the oneness of him. And so we start becoming rulers. Today, president is one of the biggest terms, the one who is the ruler, leader of society. So he's saying the ruler is the king, our ruler of the people. And so we can take our mind to people, but this is how man goes in his evolution in the state of nature to see and begin to worship those that have authority, those that have power, those that facilitate things, that provide for their life, etc. And then it goes on that man begins to see they can't put their faith and trust in him because man fails them, you know. And then it goes on. So now it says Ilahi Nas. So once you go past the man who's on in front of you, begin now to look into creation. To try. This is just the evolution. So this picture gives us how things work in society. But Allah put it this way to get us to come to Him, to find Him, because all this is supposed to point to Him. And we know the picture of Ibrahim alayhi salam in his going through society that brought him and looking at the creation that brought him to Allah. But man begins to do these things, look at the creation, they begin to make their own gods. And then the biggest thing is when it goes from that, when it this khanas. Because one of the reasons we have to make two sajdas has a lot to do with this as well, because man begins now to put itself up over everything. And we see people now, in some societies, they're saying they're God. We know Pharaoh, he said, I'm God, you know. I do this. And we find people that see themselves like that today. And some don't say it like that, but we see their actions are saying that. The things they're doing that are saying that. Because something now is whispering. So you begin to repeat the cycle. This is the cycle that Allah reminds us of. Say, don't let the Satan get you like he got your parents. Because he whispered. This is the whisper now. So he said, from the whisper, min sharril waswasil khanas. And you have to go deep in that. You get nas connected with that too. But this is talking about the devil now. This is the deceiver. The khanas is the deceiver. You see? So he wants us, because that deceives you, but he does it by whispers, by this influence in the society. And it says that LV what? He gives us more information about him. You waswisu fi sudur nas. So he is whispering. He's whispering fi in sudur. Sudur to get us to look inside. The whispers. And we say the translations again, the whispers into the heart. Not the mind, the whispers into the heart first. To the heart first. And we know that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given the Quran on his heart. He was in a state of nature, but now to protect that, Allah put the Quran right there on the heart. And then we know it. Then it goes to the brain, you know. Once it comes from the heart first, then it goes to the mind. And if it's something that weak comes inside, then it's going to begin to weaken the mind. It's going to weaken the thinking. But for Muhammad the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah gave him something that strengthened the mind more, because it goes from the heart. The brain is the first heart. The first brain develops in our heart. Really in our development. Science shows this. Science, before this brain is developed, they showed that the brain of the heart develops first. You see, so all this is consistent with what Allah Ta'ala is saying in the Quran. And we know the heart is also a symbol of affections. It's a symbol of sentiments, you know. And that is what can trap us quicker than any logic can. And we see that happen today. You know, people are not responding to logic because they're responding to sentiment. You know, they're responding to how they feel. They're responding to emotion. You see, and Allah tells us in the Quran. He says that He's saying that without Allah, without Him coming in, then man, by nature, if he doesn't bring Allah into his life, that he is really he's narrow. He's narrow. So Allah said, what He said, did we not? He said, Alam Nasra laka sadra. Did we not expand for you your heart? Expand for you your breast. So this is what Allah tells us. You see? And He really is saying to us that this seed of spiritual consciousness, this seed of the intellect, really, referring to understanding. You see, so it means without this that we are limited, and we're going to be narrow, we're going to be restricted, and that's what we see in some people who haven't brought Allah into their life. They're narrow, they're restricted. The expanding means that you have a disposition, you have a spirit to welcome all people, no matter what their race, no matter what their nationality. No matter what their ethnicity, no matter what their status, poor or rich, etc. This was also, so we find people that those that don't welcome, they become narrow, they become restricted. They're not broad, they become really vertical in that they're not horizontal in that. And we see that in a lot of people, even in our society today, that they don't have nothing that can benefit the masses of the people. It's only to benefit a select few because they're narrow. Allah have caused their vision to become restricted, because their interests have become selfish. You see, they're listening to the whisper. And we look at really in what Allah is saying, those who are open for Him and His message and seek refuge in Him, that He broadens you. Not. This is talking about understanding. Now we see that many who were oppressed by people who were very narrow, they saw themselves to be better. They listened to the whisper. They bought in to this myth, this false reality that they're superior, etc., and they oppress people. But Allah shows us that the measure in which you oppress, where your restriction is, that He will broaden the people that you oppress in the same manner in which you oppress them, and that is the intellect. The intellect in this society, and this is a lot of societies we see this happening. And for us in America right here, particularly being descendants of the enslaved here in African America, this community, the people who were oppressed in almost every situation, the people who were enslaved were told they didn't have an intellect. They could not think, they could not lead in everything. You know, I remember being in the Air Force. One of my main projects was the Tuskegee Airmen, and this is all in official documentation. All that they were saying that they could not lead because they didn't have the intelligence to lead, etc. But then we saw them get into that arena with inferior equipment, inferior circumstances, etc., and perform superior than those who had superior training, superior circumstances, etc. So we see that Allah is showing you the divine justice in this, that He begins to elevate the people who were oppressed, and He begins to regress, to cause them to be more restricted. They're not open. He calls them to regress in their intellect, to where they don't offer anything anymore. And we see now the greatest help for humanity coming from those who were oppressed. You know, and we know the religion, when Allah gives religion to those, He's always coming to those who are not the rich, not the established, but the oppressed people, because now they really represent a disposition that's in every human being, but other human beings can't see that because that's not their situation. You see, so Allah is saying that those who are always going to be denied the most, Allah will always cause them to be put up in a position where they're going to be able to contribute the most. You see, so this is why he says seek refuge in him from the whisper, because this is what you have going for you if you seek refuge in Allah. And he says from the jinn. And as we get ready to close here, we know jinn, it has several meanings, but essentially what it means is people who don't necessarily believe in God. One time they used the term Gentile to refer to them. You know, and that's why Gentile, you get jinn in that, you know. But today, this is what it is: savages, you know, people who give themselves to emotional outbursts. This is the jinn coming up, who don't fall under the rule of knowledge. People say you have a right to your own opinion, but not to your own facts. You know, they're not coming from a position of knowledge. You know, just the dilemma. So this is that. So Allah said we have to seek refuge from these kind of people. And again, we see it all across the globe. We have people that are moved just by the emotion and not giving themselves to knowledge and not submitting to an orderly life. And so Allah wants us to be aware of that. You know, they just follow their feelings. They're just following their impulses. They're just following their emotions. And we hear all the time on television people interviewed and they're following certain people for these reasons. You know, no intellectual logic. To why, when you present to them this rule and the facts, you know, Allah wants us to have an inclination towards Him, so that this inclination begins to grow and grow and grow. So He's telling us that the devil, he's in the hearts of people. This is a physical. He's in the hearts of people. And of course, you know, the prophet told us he gets in the blood, you know. And so he's in your thinking. He's in the thinking. This is how we see him, you know. What you think is revealed by what you do. What you do reveals what you really believe, you see. So you can't hide for long. You're going to show who you really are, what you really believe, you know. So Allah is trying to show us this. And so when things begin to grow in you, if you haven't got protection on that, then really it makes you become a devil. And you don't not even conscious of it. People not even conscious. Just like some can actually be performing as an angel and not know it. Allah can use you, but you wouldn't know it. You know. So we need to have protection with Allah. You know. And the devil, he said, he's among the jinn, and he's among the religious people too. You know. So we have to be aware. So we have to seek Allah's protection from everybody. This is what he's trying to tell us, from everybody, you know, because you don't know where it's going to come from. Satan, he come in here and make 2 rakats right beside us. He says Quran eloquently. This is all in the hadith. We know this. These are reports of him, you know. He had a brother come here for Fajr prayer. He waited for everybody to come upstairs, had a kufi on, and after he went downstairs, broke into the box downstairs, took it in the bathroom, and then he came in here and made 2 rakats. You know, this is the devil. This is the devil. We just got him on camera. So this kind of stuff we see. You know, so this is what Allah he's trying to help us to understand that, so that it don't foster in us, begin to grow in us, you know, in our hearts and our minds. You know, science says that every human being has over 100 trillion germs. You know, and we got doctors here that can verify this. You know, this bacteria, and it lives in your body. In and outside your body. You know, all of us have this. And 85% of it is good, and there's about 15% that's bad. But once the good ones, that big number, once the good ones are pushed aside, then there's an opportunity for the bad ones to move and they start colonizing. This is right in your body. Right now, while you're sitting there, this is how this is going on in your very bodies. So this is really just a sign from Allah. So likewise, these germs in your body, in your heart's thinking, for wickedness, in your mind's thinking for wickedness. You know, you have a germ of a devil. You know, and this is the formula to get the protection from it. And Muhammad the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said he had a jinn. He told him, you know, he said everybody got one. So they had to ask, well, do you have one? You know, so he let them. Yeah, I did. I do too. But this is what I've done. So this is how we check it. This is how we check that devil in us. Allah has given us a formula to check that devil in us, so that it doesn't come out. You know. And again, you could be coming here and someone in here and that devil right there. You know. in the church, not just the message, all these places of worship, you know. And Allah wants us to see exactly what it is, you know. So these chapters, both of these chapters, they really tell us about the growth of worship in society, how Allah has growing and how He has been moving us constantly as a people to really come to Him, to depend on Him, because we don't have no help without Allah. He's the only one that can help us, you know. We can't manage our life, as we mentioned before. You know, He's been bringing us from inferior belief. When we look at the evolution of man and him coming into belief, from inferior belief and inferior worship, He's moving us to a higher belief and to a higher worship under His protection. And I'll close with this report from Abu Hurairah. Allah said, I will declare war against him who shows hostility to an obedient worshiper of mine. And the most beloved things with which my servant comes closer to me is what I have enjoined upon him. And my servant keeps coming closer to me through performing extra deeds. Nawafil. Extra deeds beyond what is obligatory till I love him. So I become his hearing with which he hears, his sight with which he sees, his hand with which he grips, and his leg with which he walks. And if he asks me, I will give him. And if he asks my protection, a'udhu billah, asks my protection, I will protect him. So let us seek refuge in Allah Ta'ala. Again, say those surahs much and much often. Life rewards those who value it, and life punishes those who mistreat it. So let's value our life, brothers and sisters. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. We thank Allah for guiding our hearts, for guiding our intentions, our lives here in the United States to this path, this way, al-Islam. We ask Allah to keep us on the path and to give us His protection. May He keep our interest for the whole of the religion, and that we live it fully in society so that our life will be a testimony, a witness for all other societies of what Allah wants for mankind. May Allah give us light and open our eyes for the light and forgive us our ignorance and our sins against our own life so that we will have His mercy and a new chance for life and progress. Ameen. Come to Salah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat. Qad qamat as-salat, qad qamat as-salat, qad qamat as-salat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
So we have some announcements immediately after, inshallah, for those that can remain. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله يا العظيم الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين
تكبير
الله أكبر
تكبير
الله أكبر
تكبير
الله Akbar. We also want to ask everyone to make dua, hopefully before you leave here, even now or after you make your sunnah, for Imam Ibrahim Pacha. He's ill and he's one of the giants pioneers in this community. He's in Atlanta, so make dua for our beloved Imam, Ibrahim Pacha. We have a workshop tomorrow, a mental health workshop, a very important mental health workshop. And we know the society right now, actually the medical profession is saying the most undertreated disease is mental illness right now. That people are walking around, they're mentally unstable. So mental health tomorrow, please come here at 1 o'clock tomorrow till 4 o'clock. It's free. We do have some experts that'll be here, and we want to support our program here and our Sister Saisha and our team on this health committee that's bringing us these wonderful programs. So please be here tomorrow for that. Also, we make prayer for what's happening around the world. Syria, we know, Aleppo, the war-torn areas there, Haiti, and all the ones who've been stricken in these disheartening things that are happening. Make prayer, and also we're working with the Mars Cares to send funds to Haiti. We do have a very sound resource to make sure the money's going to go where it's needed the most, because they were the most devastated in the recent hurricane in Haiti. So we send funds, make it very clear that it's for the Haiti support, and they make sure that it goes towards that support. Send it to the Mars Cares. The Mars Cares. That's one of the. There may be others, but this is the one that we're using. We're going to be having a Stop the Violence event. We have a wonderful lineup of federal, national, local, community, government, community leaders going to be participating. We have 21 that's going to be participating. We have a interfaith chili cook-off where you get a chance to hear from them and also meet them, speak to them, take photos. The heavyweight champ Larry Holmes is coming in to town. He's a special guest, and there'll be others on the Olympic level and beyond, and also professional level that'll be there as well. Again, support that event. That'll be next Saturday. The chili cook-off, and then there's a sparring session that's going to take place at 3:30 to 5:30, where we're going to see our talented youth. We have 7 gyms. There are many gyms in this area, but there are 7 gyms that are going to be participating. We'll be able to support them. And this whole thing is our community, our responsibility. The banner that we have on the front of this building right here, we're trying to get more into this is one thing. There's many things we're going to be trying to do. This is one thing we're trying to do that has a leadership component, and then there's a grassroots component. The leadership component is the first half, where we'll hear from people from Loretta Lynch's office and others in D.C., council members, etc., religious leaders. And then we're going to have the youth piece, and where they'll be speaking to, we're trying to get as many youth as possible. We have a lot of youth who've been very productive, people trying to work with them in the community. One youth had 60 fights, and none of them been outside of the ring. Very disciplined young man, and there are many like that. But these programs are going overlooked and they're not being funded, so we want to bring some attention to that. There'll be another avenue to help our children. There's many things we can do. This is another avenue that's overlooked a lot of times, So we want to support this event. We're doing this, and we're in partnership with the Interfaith Conference. Allah bless us now. We've been elected the president of that organization, the Black Women for Positive Change. This is all taking place, starting the 14th is the National Week of Nonviolence. And this is like a culminating event that's taking place that week. Now that Friday night, it's going to be at the St. Elizabeth Auditorium. It's going to be a forum called Enough is Enough. And hopefully you will support that as well. We got a nice panel lined up there. That's being put on by a young man who started an organization called Next Generation Action Network. And we want to support them. We want to support us, and we got to save our life. We don't save our life, and nobody else is going to do it for us. Ku anfusakum wa ahlikum. Save yourself and your family. Okay, so support that event. Tickets are downstairs for ringside seats, and also for the chili cook-off, they're 50. Regular seats and for the chili cook-off is 25. But again, if you're coming just for the general sparring session, that's really open to everybody. That event. And so we're trying to get as many as possible. The community meeting is going to be October the 30th, where we're going to have transparency, let you see what's happening with the funds, the monies, what's going on with the programs, the development. We're going to go through all of that. So please be here for that event. That starts at, I think, 10 o'clock. Sunday. Time, I think it's 10 o'clock. I didn't see it in the announcements, though. We are now preparing for our 3rd annual Celebrate Marriage. That's very important. Celebrating marriage, very important in the society and in the world right now. So we want you to participate. We're going to do it here. Right now we're looking at doing it here. We're trying to pull back on a lot of events to try to do things because we're in development mode. We're trying to grow right now. So we need to try to maximize some of our fundraisers. So it's also going to be a fundraiser. But it's 45 if you're single, 80 if you're a couple. We have Imam Talib Shareef is going to be key speaker for that event. This committee has got some wonderful new things they're going to introduce that we can have a good time. So please, that's going to be November the 12th. November the 12th, Celebrate Marriage event. So support that event as well. The third annual Spread Hummus, Not Hate. This is an interfaith event that takes place Thursday, October 20th. Hopefully some of you will be here for this. So we're coming together as Muslims and Jews to declare that we will stand up for each other. If either community is victimized by violence or by hateful rhetoric, we vow to stand together against Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and all forms of bigotry. They're going to be going around visiting maybe 13 to 18 different religious sites. There's a group of people on the bus. They're going to come by here by 11:30. Hopefully some of you will come here. A lot of media is involved to show us standing together. All these things are things we need to show that we're working together to have a better society. You know, it's going to take our unity to do it. None of us can do this in a vacuum. None of us can do this by ourselves. So hopefully some of you will be here at 11:30 on Thursday, October the 20th. And then they're going to have a big rally at American University. So it's a lot of support for this one as well, inshallah. Okay, I think we're good. Oh yeah, the family game night is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. That's a big one, so we wanted to support that as well. For you don't have anything planned, and hopefully that's what you have planned. Come here and support the family game night and potluck here. The Muslim American Veterans Association have a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're a veteran, you should support that group. They're trying to strengthen us. We know the president recognized Sheikh Nazim at the White House. He was also recognized at the Pentagon. One of our own, a World War II veteran, and they want our organization to be stronger so they can use us more in society as a light of how others should be. But we need our numbers to grow. So if you're a veteran, don't run from this. You have an obligation. Allah put that in your path, made that a part of who you are as a veteran. So really you have an obligation to respond to what Allah has given you. So support these things. Come find out what you can do, what you can invest in terms of time, energy, money, etc. On that day. The bus is going to Time to Be Grateful this year in I think it's Kansas City. We have a bus that's 185. That's round trip. We have also a flight. We have a couple of seats left on the flight. All of those who signed up for the flight. There's a group flight. Final payment is due on the flight for October 22nd. If you did sign up, you got to make that final payment by the 22nd. And for the bus will be departing Thursday, December the 8th, and returns on December the 11th. And I don't have any. See Brother Saifuddin. I don't know if he's in here now. He might be outside. He's outside. See Brother Saifuddin. Stop by the office if you're interested in being on the bus, the 185 round trip, to go to the Time to Be Grateful, which is really has been proven right now to be the biggest event in our association right now. More members are coming to any other event. That's proven to be the biggest event so far. I think anything else?
Yes, we have Mr. Williams from MedStar Washington Hospital Center. Yeah, I'm here from information to distribute. He just wants to say a few words. Mr. Williams, step forward. And we'll see what one of our partners, and of course, you know, the Imam is visitor, not visitors, but you actually go there, ministry at the Washington Hospital Center. So again, welcome.
Thank you. As you okay, that works. Okay. Thank you. As you well know, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. MedStar Washington Hospital Center noticed that we have a high rate of late-stage breast cancer in the city in certain sections. So I'm trying to encourage the men to make sure the women in your lives, and also the ladies, to make sure that they get their annual mammograms. One of the reasons why women say they don't do it because they don't have the time, they're taking care of their family. So what we do, we have a special mammogram day on October the 22nd for women to come in and get their mammogram. This is an opportunity. So that's really what I wanted to say. Just encourage you to, all the women that you know in your life over the age of 40, make sure that they're getting their mammograms because they could be at high risk. Thank you. I'll be here for a few minutes, so if anybody wants to come up to me and talk to me about it and they're interested in, yes. Yeah, Mammogram Day is October the 22nd, at MedStar Washington Hospital Center. Now, if you want to come on that day, I'll be here for a while, and I'll sign you up, okay?
Greatly appreciate it. I received a call this morning from a sister in North Carolina. She was stage 4 cancer, and she had a test today. She's cancer free. So alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Yeah.